The funeral hall was quiet, too quiet, so quiet that even breathing sounded careful, as if everyone was listening to everyone else. The family sat in the front row, dressed in black. No one was crying. This wasn't grief. It was waiting. The lawyer stepped forward, holding a sealed envelope. When it opened, the sound felt strangely loud. I will now read the last will of William Cole. Someone swallowed. A chair creaked softly. All assets and full control of the company shall be transferred to. In that moment, a man's hand stiffened on his knee. The adopted son, Ethan Cole. The air froze. Someone stopped breathing halfway in. Others turned to look at one another, eyes wide. Ethan didn't move. No smile, no shock, just a quiet look that asked, "Does my name really belong here?" Beside him, Ryan Cole slowly lifted his head. His eyes changed, just for a second, but it was enough. Calculation. Behind them sat their mother, Margaret Cole. She said nothing, but when the wall was red, she looked away, just once. The lawyer continued, "There is an additional clause. All eyes return to the front. If anyone challenges this will," he paused. The deceased requested that a letter inside the study safe be opened. At that moment, Margaret's fingers tightened around the armrest. No one noticed, but she knew this funeral was not an ending. It was the beginning, because everything they had believed for 30 years ago was about to collapse because of one letter. After the funeral, people slowly began to leave, but the Cole family didn't move. Still dressed in black, they sat there, watching one another, as if waiting to see who would stand first. Ethan rose quietly. His legs felt stiff. Adopted. The word still echoed in his ears. "Hey brother." Ryan's voice was calm. "Congratulations." Ethan turned. Ryan was smiling, but the smile looked old, like it had been practiced too many times. "Dad must have trusted you a lot." "Thanks." Ethan nodded. "I didn't expect this either." "Really?" Ryan tilted his head. "So you were surprised too?" Silence followed, short but heavy. Ryan stepped closer. "Can I ask you something?" His voice dropped. "Did Dad ever say anything just to you?" Ethan frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" "You know." Ryan shrugged. "You were adopted, so giving you everything. There must have been a reason." Ethan hesitated. His father's face came to mind. Quiet, always holding something back. "No." He shook his head. "Nothing special." Ryan nodded, still smiling. "I see. Then," softly, "that makes it even stranger." The words settled deep in Ethan's chest. A few steps away, Margaret was watching them. She didn't approach. She just kept adjusting the strap of her purse. When her eyes met Ethan's, she forced a smile. "Ethan, you must be exhausted." "I'm fine," Ethan replied. For a split second, Margaret's eyes trembled, like someone who wanted to speak, but didn't. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. Why me? Was there really no reason? A small question quietly took root, and once it did, it refused to leave. That night, Ethan was alone. The house was too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes sleep impossible. He found himself walking toward his father's study. When he opened the door, the smell hit him at once. Old books, wood polish, his father. The desk was untouched, the chair pushed in, a pencil resting exactly where it always had been. Was there really no reason? Then the line from the will came back to him. The letter inside the safe. Ethan looked toward the wall, behind the framed photograph, the place his father opened only when he was alone. He moved the frame. A small metal handle appeared. Click. The safe opened. Inside were a few documents and one thin envelope. The envelope looked old, worn at the edges, as if it had been opened and closed many times. Ethan hesitated. Once I read this, there's no going back. But his hands were already opening it. Inside was a black and white photograph and a folded note. In the photo, a young man and woman stood side by side. The man was his father, smiling, much younger. The woman felt strangely familiar. That's strange. Ethan's breathing quickened. On the back of the photo were 2 lines. Mia Bennett, Spring, 1993. He whispered the name, Mia Bennett. Then he unfolded the note. Just one short message. Mia, I'm sorry. I couldn't protect you or our son. Ethan's hands began to shake. Our son. He stared at the woman's face again. Her eyes, they looked like his. The room went silent. Too silent. Then who am I? At that moment, a faint sound came from the hallway. Footsteps. Ethan quickly folded the letter and slid it into the desk drawer. The door didn't open, but he knew he wasn't the only one searching for this truth. And this photograph was not just a memory. Something buried for 30 years ago was waking up, and it wasn't going to stay hidden. The next morning, Ethan went to the office. The commute felt normal until he stopped in front of the building. Through the glass doors, he could feel it. The looks had changed. Inside the elevator, someone spoke. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. A pause, then an awkward laugh. Ethan couldn't tell if it was respect or a test. The boardroom doors opened. Everyone was already seated. Some lowered their heads. Others looked him over without hiding it. As Ethan sat down, the chairman spoke. Ethan, the will has been executed, but the board needs to confirm a few things. Ethan nodded. Your adoption process, your birth records. The room went cold. It's a formality, the chairman added. No offense intended, but it didn't feel that way. Ethan took a slow breath. I'll provide whatever is required. Ryan spoke up. Come on, brother, don't take it personally. He smiled, but his voice stayed low. It's only natural. Ethan met his gaze. Yeah, natural. The meeting ended. In the hallway, 2 employees passed by, whispering, wasn't he adopted? Still got everything. Ethan kept walking, but his shoulders stiffened. Then Claire approached. Ryan's wife, an attorney. Ethan, may I ask you something? Her tone was polite. Her eyes were not. This is official. Ethan nodded. Did you keep any personal materials from your father? His fingers paused. What kind of materials? Letters, photographs. She studied his face. See Cully. If they exist, sharing them now would help everyone. Ethan looked at her, then spoke slowly. Not at this time. Claire smiled. I see. Then I'll ask again. Soon. As she walked away, Ethan knew this was no longer a simple review. They weren't just questioning him, they were closing in, and the envelope in the safe was no longer safe at all. That evening, Ethan stayed alone in the office. The city was still bright, but the chairman's office was dark, lit only by a desk lamp. He stared at documents, but the words wouldn't settle. The phrases from earlier kept returning. Adoption records, birth verification, just a formality. The phone rang. Ethan looked at it for a moment before answering. This is Ethan. Silence. Then a low male voice. You're somewhere private, right? Ethan glanced at the door. Who is this? The name doesn't matter, but I know a little about the past. You're searching for? Ethan's grip tightened. What are you talking about? Spring of 1993, upstate New York. And one record. That disappeared. Each word landed hard. It concerns you. Ethan breathed slowly. What do you want? A faint chuckle. Not now. Just some advice. Ethan stayed silent. Don't move too quickly. There are people who don't want that truth exposed. The line went dead. Ethan lowered the phone. The office felt even quieter. He walked to the window. Below, traffic moved on. People looked seemingly calm. Is it just me falling apart? His phone buzzed again. A text message. Hide the envelope again. Someone is already looking for it. Ethan stared at the screen. Who knows? And how much? Then, the office door handle shifted slightly. Ethan looked up. Who's there? No answer. Only the sound of an elevator door closing. Down the hall, Ethan opened the desk drawer and checked the envelope. Still there. But now he knew. This wasn't an investigation. It was a warning. And he was no longer the one being protected. The next morning, Ethan arrived at the office early. His face showed the night he hadn't slept. But he stepped into the elevator, as if nothing was wrong. Just before the doors closed, a hand slipped inside. Ryan. The elevator rose, with only the two of them inside. Silence. Only the floor numbers, ticking upward. You were here late last night. Ryan spoke casually, but Ethan felt it. He was being watched. I had work to finish. Did you? Ryan smiled. You've been moving alone a lot lately. Ethan said nothing. The elevator stopped. Ryan stepped out first, then turned. Ethan, wait. He blocked the office door. You went to the study last night, didn't you? Ethan's eyes shifted. Just for a moment. What are you talking about? That hesitation. Ryan said quietly. That's not like you. His voice dropped. The envelope? The one Dad left. Ethan took a slow breath. And everyone's looking for it. Ryan stepped closer. The board. Claire. Ethan didn't move back. That envelope was left to me. Ryan's smile disappeared. Dad didn't belong to just you. At that moment, the office door opened. Claire stood there. You're both being heard. She turned to Ethan. Ethan, I'm making a formal request. He waited. Your father's personal letters and photographs. Please submit them now. The air went still. If you refuse, Claire continued, we'll proceed through legal channels. Ethan's hands curled. That's a threat. No, she said calmly. It's a right. Ryan spoke softly. Don't make this bigger than it needs to be. Ethan looked at both of them. The envelope stays with me. Silence. Claire's expression hardened. Then, we'll use another approach. As she turned away, she added quietly, for your own good. After they left, Ethan stood alone. The office door closed. Only then did his breathing break. This was no longer a conversation. The fight for the truth had begun. That night, Ethan returned to the study. He didn't turn on the lights. Street light glow slipped between the shelves. He opened the drawer and took out the envelope. The paper whispered under his fingers. I can't wait anymore. He laid the photo and letter side by side on the desk. Then, the door handle turned. Click. Ethan looked up. Margaret stood there. Ethan. Her voice was low, shaking. Stop. Ethan rose slowly. Mom, do you know this? He lifted the photo. Margaret froze. The room stopped breathing. Tell me. Ethan's voice stayed calm, but his hands trembled. Why is this name here? Margaret stepped back. That's the past. The past. Ethan couldn't smile. That's my life. Silence. Margaret's lips turned pale. Ethan, I was trying to protect. Protect who? His voice cracked. You. Or. The door opened again. Ryan and Claire. Mom. Ryan's face hardened. What's going on? Margaret looked around. Like a cornered animal. Claire's eyes locked. On the desk. The photo. The letter. So this is it, Claire said quietly. Ryan picked up the photo. This woman. His voice broke. Who is she? Margaret's knees gave out. She sank into the chair. Mia Bennett, Ethan's biological mother. The air shattered. Ryan stepped back, as if the floor had shifted. Then, who am I? Margaret's shoulders shook. Ryan, you. The words never came. The silence said everything. Ethan didn't cry. He didn't shout. He just stared at the photo. In that room, the quietest man was breaking the most. No one spoke. Margaret's confession hung in the air, heavy and unmoving. Ryan stood near the chair, staring at the floor. Then, he finally said, Dad knew all of this. Margaret nodded, still unable to look up. He started looking into it. Years ago, he called it protection. Ethan looked back at the letter. Then why? Why didn't he tell me? His voice wasn't angry. It was empty. Because, Margaret said quietly, he was afraid you'd leave this family. Ethan exhaled. I wouldn't have. The words surprised him too. Claire spoke softly. That explains the will. Everyone turned to her. He didn't leave punishment. He left a choice. Ethan frowned. A choice. Claire nodded, pointing to the letter. To reveal the truth. Or bury it. Silence returned. Ryan lifted his head. Brother. For the first time, he looked straight at Ethan. I didn't know about any of this. Ethan studied him, then nodded. I know. Ryan's shoulders finally dropped. Margaret covered her face, shaking. I'm sorry. I just didn't want to lose both of my sons. Ethan stepped forward, placing the photo back into the envelope. Now, he said, there's no reason to hide anymore. It wasn't a goodbye. It was the beginning of release. Morning came, as if nothing had happened, but the house felt heavier than the night before. Margaret wasn't at the table. Her bedroom door was closed. A small suitcase sat outside. Ethan looked at it for a long moment, then turned away. The choice was made. Now came the consequence. At the office, Claire was waiting. Her expression was firm, professional. Ethan, there's something we need to confirm. She placed a thin file on the table. The accident involving Mia Bennett 30 years ago. Ethan's hand stopped. There were irregularities. Claire continued. Vehicle maintenance records, insurance timing, and she slid one page forward. The inspection request. The day before the accident. It was made by Margaret. The room fell silent. Ryan exhaled sharply. That means, Claire nodded. It strongly suggests the accident was not random. At that moment, the door opened. Margaret stood there. She didn't run. She knew there was nowhere left. Stop, she whispered. Ethan looked at her. Mom, did you have a role in Mia's death? Margaret closed her eyes, then nodded. I never meant to kill her. The words shattered everything. I was afraid, she said, shaking. If she had the child, I would lose everything. Ryan's face drained. So you just let it happen. Margaret collapsed into a chair. I wanted to stop her. I wanted her to turn back. I didn't think. Her voice broke. Ethan didn't move. Then, he said quietly, your face. What comes next? Claire spoke. "We're submitting this to the police." Margaret said nothing. Her silence was the confession. The courtroom was quiet. Everyone understood that a life could not be judged lightly. Margaret sat at the defendant's table, head lowered. Her hands trembled, but her eyes no longer ran. The judge read slowly. The defendant intentionally interfered with events, leading to a loss that cannot be undone. No sound followed. This court hereby sentences the defendant to a significant term. The gavel struck, soft but final. In that moment, the truth that had hovered for 30 years ago finally touched the ground. Ethan watched from the gallery. There was no relief, only an ending. Outside the courtroom, Ryan spoke. "Brother, I think I'm ready to live my own life." Ethan nodded. "That's right." Days later, Ethan stood before reporters. Flashes burst, but he didn't rush. "I am William Cole's son, and Mia Bennett's son. A breath, and this company will begin again." Without hiding, questions came fast. Ethan answered calmly. "Truth doesn't weaken a company, it leaves people standing." The company changed. Responsibility over power, explanation over silence. Ryan left to open a small design office. For the first time, he said, "I'm working under my own name." Months later, Ethan founded a small scholarship, the Mia Bennett Foundation. Standing alone in an empty hall, he whispered, "It's late, but your name will not disappear." The final image was simple. At dusk, Ethan stood by the window, watching the city. Family may begin with blood, but it is completed by truth. He turned off the lights and walked away. The story was finished. Life continued. Thank you for staying with us until the end. We will be back soon with a better story. Your support, your likes and your follow means so much to us.